We're here to work on skills today that will help you work through your 1L mental assignments. Please know that what we're covering today is your research process for life. I really mean that. We're going to go through some steps that are the typical steps to any legal research assignment. It doesn't matter if I'm working with a student or an attorney. The same steps get followed to make sure nothing gets missed and you uncover all the right materials that you need for your research assignment. Now, I may start at step one, but based on the different information that you may have when you start your research, you could drop in to any step and continue down the research process from a further along step if you already have some information. On this main screen, you will see that this is for law students only. And here is where you'll be able to access information about your school and our fun rewards program. Now, I got here by Googling Lexis and law school. You can, of course, go to the URL www.lexisnexis.com/law school. Once you sign in, you'll see this up at the top. Every time you see this little diamond, that brings you to activities that are skill-based to help you work on your research skills and get you more Lexis points. Anytime you want to shop or look at your rewards points, you can go to Manage Rewards. I'd like you to do this next step for me. You can do it right now and pause me. I want you to come to your Manage Rewards page and opt in to daily research points. You guys are going to be doing a lot of research for your 1L assignments, and you can get points just for using Lexis 365 days a year when you opt in. So don't miss this opportunity to get easy points. When it comes time to go shopping, you'll use the Redeem Points Now button, and that's where a lot of people come to spend their points on things like Amazon and Starbucks gift cards. So to go to the research system, we click the button, Go to Lexis Plus. And we're going to work on a 1L research process. So to start, we're going to put some terms into the search bar. Okay, now I've got a situation, party at a hotel, and two people walk out to the hallway to have a private conversation. One person is eavesdropping, overhears the conversation, and records it on their cell phone. So you're going to take a handful of key terms from your assignment and plug them into the search bar. So you're looking for those key terms that are going to pull up materials that have to do with the legal issue involved. So for us, those were eavesdropping, recorded, communication, public. I chose to include public because I want to make sure that I get materials where the conversation was done in a public place versus something like somebody's own home, because we can expect that our level of privacy would be different at a hotel than our own home, right? Also notice that I put nothing in between these terms. So I did eavesdropping, recorded, communication, public, just the terms with nothing in between. And let's go ahead and click the search button. What you'll get is your typical Lexis results screen. And just like on Amazon, your departments are off to the left-hand side. Our departments are cases, statutes, secondary materials, and others, but these are the main three that we were going to go through today. Below the departments, and just like on Amazon, you'll see the different filtering options, so you can narrow your result set further once you get to this screen. We are going to start with secondary materials. When you don't have anything else to start with, you don't know the names of cases, you don't know if there's a statute on point, and we're just trying to get that general background information on eavesdropping, recorded conversations, we go to secondary materials. That is step one. Immediately, we're getting back almost 10,000 results. That is a lot, right? And we can see we're getting different types of content, different types of secondary sources are populating here. The button you want to click is treatises and guides. That's the best place to start between all these other options here. Treatises will give you the background information you're looking for. They tend to be in-depth enough to cover your topic and lead you to those seminal leading cases and statutes. So treatises and guides. Okay, let's filter a little bit more and bring down these results. Jurisdiction. Because we're dealing with the state of California, state law issue, filter to California. I'm getting rid of all other states' content on the screen, and I'm just looking at treatises that talk about California law. At this point, I can start going through my result set in the middle of the screen. But I'm going to give you one more tip. You can also take one of the words from your search and plug it back in right now. You know what? I really want to make sure that public is in all of my results. And you're going to have a word that you probably want to make sure your results talk about as well. So you can add that in and focus on it. I'm going to leave it out right now just to make things easier for this lesson, and we'll go through our screen. Okay, here's how you deal with your results. I look at the top, invasions of privacy. Okay, good. California forms of pleading and practice. If you see this, know that it is a secondary source that talks about all things in California law, and it's one of our leading secondary sources. So it's a good one if you see that. So that's good so far, right? And we're dealing with privacy, okay, protection against eavesdropping and other forms of invasion of privacy under the penal code. Okay, this one looks good. So maybe I check that box and I go on to the next round. And then I see California trial guide, objecting to evidence. We're not really talking about evidence right now, so I'm going to go on. Okay, complaint for preliminary, permanent injunction. We're talking about a form. Nope, I don't need a form right now. Okay, so what do we have here? Privacy. That looks a little too general, so I'm going to scroll past it now. And again, objections to evidence. Nope, not good. Okay, this one looks good. Wiretapping and eavesdropping in employment law. Nope. So I keep going. Okay, Witkin. That's another great source for California. Really helpful. So that's good. Criminal law. Okay. Illegally obtained evidence. Nope. We don't want those evidence ones. Okay, Witkin again. Okay. We're talking about the crime of invasion of privacy. Good. Electronic eavesdropping and confidential communication. Yes, that's exactly my topic. So maybe I check that box now. Once I started checking boxes, I can throw those items into a folder. But you've got to create your first folder so you have something to put them into. So to create that first folder, go to your folders icon, click choose a folder, and then you'll get your create button. So once you click create, you get the name the folder, whatever makes sense to you, and go ahead and save those items to a folder. For now, we're just going to go into the last one that I saw. Come on in. We're here. We're looking to find the elements that we need to prove. And actually, it says it right here. In general, it is unlawful to intentionally and without consent of the parties eavesdrop and record by means of an electronic recording device. And then it says that there's a crime and goes on, and it actually says that if we read further, it's from a criminal law code for California, Penal Code 632 and A and B, okay? So that's good. We know that there's a statute that talks about this specific elements that I need to prove, and then it goes on and defines what each of the terms are in this sentence. A confidential communication. Well, what is that? Is our communication done in a hotel confidential? And now it says, however, it does not include a communication made in public. We think, okay, that's not good for us, right? We want to be able to make sure that it's done in public. But I said they went to the hallway where they're, we can assume that, let's say they're by themselves. Is that public? Well, now we need to either keep reading this to figure out what public means. And I'm reading now, and it's telling me a little bit more about a situation done in public at a restaurant. So I'm gathering all these types of information right from my secondary source. And that's what you want to do too, okay? What you could actually go back to the results screen and look at that other secondary source that we found, because a really good researcher will look at 2 to 3 secondary sources before they're ready to move on and go to the next step. We're going to go to the next step right now. It told us that there was a code section on point. It didn't link us, which is rare. Usually it will link us right to that code section, and you guys can take that link and go right in. But it didn't link us to the penal code, so we're going to go now to statutes and legislation. Step 2, statutes and legislation. And we want codes. Get rid of everything else there. We don't want to track bills or legislation. We want codes. And of course, we need to make sure we're in our code book for California. And now I'm ready to review my results. We said it was Penal Code 632, so I know I'm in the right spot. When it comes to reading your statute, you're paying attention to all the parts of the statute, right? But specifically, we want to know about the subsection that best describes your issue. For us, that's subsection C, where they're talking more about what a confidential communication is, because that's our tricky issue, whether or not this communication done at a hotel hallway is confidential or not. And so for us, we're really interested in subsection C. Okay, so we know the text of the statute, we read it, we know we need subsection C. Now what? You want your notes of decisions. Now I can click this, notes of decisions, it'll jump me right there. Or just so you know, I can scroll on down and I'll find the notes of decisions that way too. Depends on the length of your statute. Sometimes you want to click this and get right to them. So here's the notes of decisions, and these are the lead us to cases that further discuss our statute. And right away you can see that this is the piece that talks about confidential communication. So I can jump down and start reading about the cases that talk more about confidential communication. But don't just stop there when you see the first one, because some of these titles can get very specific, and we want to see, is there anything else? Right of privacy of corporations? No. Persons benefiting? No. Communications in public places? That's even better, right? So we jump down and now we're reading. And again, we're finding out what goes on when we're at a busy restaurant. That may be something that we need. We're in a hotel, in a hallway of a hotel. So maybe this is something we can analogize to the situation going on at the restaurant. So what is the law for busy restaurants? And I can go out to Wilkins right now and figure that out. So that would be your next step, is to go on to Wilkins and start to learn more about busy restaurants and what the rule of law is for eavesdropping there. Back to results. Now we're doing this really quickly, right? Step 3 is case law. Presuming you've spent more time in statutes, more time reading the notes, you've already spent time in the secondary materials, gathering a couple secondary sources that tell you more about the law. After all that, we're ready to look in case law now. So coming back to case law, what are the filters that you want to apply? Let's start with court. We know that's important, right? So here's California. I could be more specific if your professors are more specific and say you only want California Supreme Court and a particular court of appeals, then you can open up these plus signs and be more specific. This is all things California when I click that box. Okay, a lot of times you guys are asked to only search in published cases. So that is a way to get rid of a lot of cases on your screen by just clicking publish now, a button that they don't tend to show you in your library classes, but is really helpful, is another way to look at your results set. These are my results in the middle of the screen. By this time, after doing all the research that you've already done, you're going to start to recognize some of these case names because you've seen them already in the secondary source and in the notes of your statute. We are in our graphical view, but I'm going to switch to Ravel view right now. This is going to take my cite list and put it in a visual map for me so I can actually see how the cases are citing one another. The bigger the bubble, the more times that case is being cited for your issue. And when I hover over these bubbles, you can see right here where it says how to use, it's changing to the name of the case. When I'm dealing with a state court and everything's in state court, sometimes I switch it to relevance and it gives me a little bit better view of the cases because we're in the same level of court. So now I can see, okay, this really is, there's really 3 main cases here, and I want to make sure that I've seen those cases before I move on to the next step and really dive into one of these cases. For more current time, this looks like it's from the 2000s. This is probably the biggest case that all of the cases are citing that's more current in time. It's the biggest bubble here. So I know that is the Flanagan case, and I can click it, and Flanagan's actually number 2 on our cite list. So that is another reason we want to make sure we open Flanagan. So we're going to go ahead and do it now for class purposes. Once you're here, if you want to get back to your regular graphical view, you would be back that way. Couple things once you're here. First, I know you need to blue book this case. It's rare that you like to blue book. So here is a button to help you. Copy citation. You'll need to click standard for standard blue booking and then apply. When you scroll down, you will have the standard blue booking. Now you've got to double check just with your blue book, make sure everything's good to go, but it should be in the right format now, and at least you have something to work with. Now this is the long citation. You need to find out if you need the shorter official reporter only. If you only need the official reporter, then we uncheck this box from the regional reporter, and now you have that shortened form of the case you can copy and put it in your assignment. Okay, so we scroll down, we check out the case summary. What's going on in this case? What's the overview? Is this case going to be helpful to us? And then we want to zero in on the head notes, because the head notes tell us about the rules coming out of this case. These are the rules of law that this case is discussing, okay? So for us, we are really interested in those confidential communication passages, and I can see that those are being discussed here. I can keep coming down, and as you're seeing, this one talks a little bit more about confidentiality, telling me it requires nothing more than the existence of a reasonable expectation by one of the parties that no one is listening. That's really helpful to us, because maybe these people in the hallway didn't think anyone was listening, and maybe that's enough to be private, right? So when we find something that's really helpful to us, we've got a couple things we could do. So when I really like this, we can now bounce down using this arrow, and it will take me to the text where that head note is found. So I'm looking at this text here, and it's starting to talk about this confidential communication in a little more detail. Now I can see this little magnifying glass. It's telling me, do you want more like this? Do you like this passage? And I can say, yeah, give me more things that are like this. That's perfect. And Lexis will say, okay, here are recommendations for that selected passage. The kite case, great. We saw that on the list. It was like number 3. So I definitely want to check out that case. And then Mesger, okay. And I can read more about it here. And so this is other ways you can use a head note to find more helpful information. Bounce down to the opinion where your head note is found and read the passage and find more like this passage. Now, there's one more thing that I want to cover with you guys. Let's go back up. Here is the button Shepherdized Narrow by Head Note, okay? And right here, I can see that this Head Note 5 has a green symbol by it. Flanagan has a yellow signal by it. This is Shepherds talking to you right here from the case. We've used all kinds of colored signals on Lexis to tell you if your case is good law. To immediately find out why was this case given a yellow triangle, you've got this Y button and you can click it. And Lexis will tell you this case was distinguished by the Franklin case. Now don't worry when you see yellow triangles. The Franklin case is just saying that the rules of law in Flanagan are okay, but the facts of Franklin case are different, so they're not going to rely on the rule of law in Flanagan. They're just distinguishing themselves. You are okay if your facts are not similar to the Franklin case. And of course, you can go out and check the facts in Franklin and see. But for this Head Note 5, the passage I like, the yellow signal has gone away and we have a green signal. That means positive treatment. Only good things have been said about the rule of law in Head Note 5. I have 5 other cases that are citing the rule of law in Head Note 5 for Flanagan. That is great for us. And I can get to those cases right here by shepherdizing, narrowing by head note. Now I'm pulling a Shepherd's report of all the cases that cite Flanagan with my issue from Head Note 5. So I've got a list of 19 cases that cite Flanagan from Head Note 5 right now. And remember, we want to go through this again. I only want the reported cases. And I say, I only want to know when it's done in a public place, or maybe you want to add in some different terms here to be more specific and figure out what are the cases out there that are citing this big bubble case Flanagan that talk about the rule of law in Head Note 5 and have terms in it I need cases to have so I can narrow in and find cases similar to my own. Please let me know if you guys have questions. I'm here to help, support. Right here is their phone all day, every day. Bye-bye.